In just a few days, the Winnipeg Baroque Festival returns to venues across the city. 16 concerts taking place over the course of 3 weeks, starting this Sunday at the College Chapel of St. John the Evangelist at the University of Manitoba. That first concert will be given by the chapel's resident ensemble, All the King's Men, presenting a program of masters of the early 17th century. The ensemble's director, Charles Horton, joins us live in the Classic 107 studios to break down this concert for us. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here with us. First of all, what does it mean for your ensemble to be starting this incredible festival this year?
It's a great honor to be the first. It's no expectations. We just do what we do on a regular basis on our monthly service of Evensong.
Mm-hmm. So for people who haven't been to an Evensong service or are not familiar with what goes on at St. John's College in that chapel space, maybe you can break down for people who haven't been before what they can expect.
Evensong is a service that was first formulated in the English Renaissance. It was a response to taking the old monastic services of evening prayer, of Compline and Vespers, and making a service that was decidedly English. When it's choral Evensong, it's primarily sung by the choir. The congregation is there to hear these devotional texts, to participate in singing the final hymn, to sing some of the standard parts of a service like the Lord's Prayer, sing the Apostles' Creed, but mostly it's a chance to hear the text set to music and sung by the choir.
Yeah, as much a historical sort of an experience as it is perhaps a religious one for people who ascribe to that sort of a thing.
Well, it is, but choral Evensong is a very active part of the Anglican tradition to this very day, and composers are writing very actively for this service to this time. We're taking with us on our trip to England this summer pieces that were written within the last 20 years by English composers. It's still very much a going thing in English colleges, parishes, and cathedrals.
Such a rich tradition to then participate in. So this concert not featuring any of these composers that have written music in the last 20 years. It's more like in the last 400 years, perhaps. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what people can expect musically on this program without giving too much away, though, because we've got to, get people to come out and see it for real.
Well, in programming for this service this year, I decided to turn the clock back a bit from our previous Evensong and last year's Baroque Festival and look at the early part of the 17th century, primarily the reign of James I, the first 25 years of that century. It was James I's reign was exactly the same time that Orlando Gibbons was in the Chapel Royal. And the last 2 years of that time, he was the organist at Westminster Abbey. That was kind of a starting point. William Byrd was alive until 1625. Thomas Tompkins joined the Chapel Royal the same year as Gibbons. And these are three major English composers writing for the church who really distill the Renaissance practices in English music and take them to a very high level. Gibbons, unlike Byrd, only wrote English text, only set English texts. And so though his style is very much related to what Byrd did, he was writing for the Protestant church. But I wanted to broaden the base a little bit. And so I cast about for composers that were active at this time elsewhere. And I wanted to see what was different about Italian music at the time. So the four Italian composers that we're going to be doing had some sort of association with Venice.
Okay.
And looking at those two cities, they're both about the same population. They both rely on maritime trade. They both had the same kind of relationship with Rome at the time because of, you'll know the famous gunpowder plot in London.
Sure, Guy Fawkes.
And at the same time, the Pope had put an interdiction against Venice. So there was a correspondence going on between James I and the Doge of Venice.
Wow.
A lot of discussion about Reformed religion. The first translation of the Book of Common Prayer in Italian took place during that time.
Wow. There's so much history to dive into with all of these composers. As you're making this program, there are certain masters that you've called by name here. We've got Gibbons, we've got Tompkins, we've got Bird. How do you then decide, when you're broadening things out with the Italian composers, how do you then make sure that the program has this sort of dovetail and this sort of interaction between London and Venice?
Well, part of the limitation, it's actually kind of a blessing to have the limitation of the voicing of our choir, because there's repertoire that is written expressly for men's voices, and that helps actually narrow the field for us. And then it's a matter of seeing how they might place within the standard form of the evensong service. So, for instance, we're doing a piece by short motet by Heinrich Schütz, who studied in Venice with Giovanni Gabrielli, and it's a setting of one of the Psalms, and we regularly do a psalm in evensong, so it was a natural fit. We're doing a piece by Monteverdi, the only piece he wrote for men's voices that I've been able to find, exclusively for men's voices, a setting of the Crucifixus text from the Creed. And we say a creed in evensong, then we're going to sing the Monteverdi. It's a very short motet. Sadly, we'd love it to be much longer.
We'll call Monteverdi and complain.
Yeah. So it's a matter of seeing if there are pieces that are adaptable or are written expressly for our men's voices, and then seeing how they might fit into the service.
This is a rather unique offering within the Winnipeg Baroque Festival context, which has a wide variety of genres within that sort of Baroque time period, talking about sort of 1600 to around 1750 or so. What do you think audiences will take away from your concert this Sunday night, this service, that they won't get if they attend other concerts throughout the festival?
Well, our service is going to be an experience of a sort of a point in time. In the early 17th century, it was a period of great change in musical styles, but also it was a change in the ecclesiastical world, in the political world as well. But to see at that point of those, say, first 25 years of the 17th century, the richness of musical creation at the time. There were leftovers of the Renaissance practice, but there was the emerging Baroque practice. So in our service, we're going to hear pieces with continuo with cello and continuo keyboard, pieces accompanied by organ, unaccompanied pieces. We're going to hear pieces, we're going to have some Gabrielli with brass.
As we just heard here on our program just now. Fantastic.
And you're going to hear pieces that foretell, in a sense, the emerging Baroque practices. Our organist, Lottie Eanes-Brahm, will be playing some music by Frescobaldi. And it will include pieces that are, in a sense, forerunners to the fugue, a standard that we associate certainly with the high late Baroque. So it's a period where there's going to be a lot of variety, a mix of styles, and we're really contemporary pieces, not all of one type.
Right. We talk about what audiences will take away from this experience. You mentioned Lottie Eanes-Brahm, noted organist here in the city of Winnipeg, also organizing the Bach Marathon concert with the Royal Canadian College of Organists Winnipeg Centre, taking place next Saturday, which is April the 5th. Another concert happening in your same space is being presented by Dead of Winter on the 6th, so literally a week later. Maybe with this conversation about the dialogue between London and Venice that you have prepared for all the King's Men, how do you think this concert dialogues with the other concerts within the Winnipeg Baroque Festival? How does it situate itself into what ensembles here in Winnipeg are saying when it comes to the music from this time period?
Well, we're going to reflect some of the practices that people will hear, musical practices and techniques that they'll hear in later concerts. I was quite pleased to see a connection that was totally unplanned. Our final hymn of the evening is going to be a setting, hymn setting by Orlando Gibbons, which people identify with the text that it is often paired with, Drop, Drop, Slow Tears. Mm-hmm. Gibbons actually wrote that hymn tune for a publication in, I think it was 1623, of hymns and songs for the church. And originally the text that came with that was a Christmas text. But 10 years later, the poet Phineas Fletcher wrote the poem, Drop, Drop, Slow Tears, and they were paired together in hymn books. As it turns out, Dead of Winter, a week later in the same venue, will be performing a work by Andrew Balfour where he has reimagined the very same piece with Cree and Ojibwe text. Mm-hmm. And I was delighted to see that people can come back to the same venue here.
Wow.
A sort of the same piece through a new lens. And it will be very exciting to hear that transformation.
Absolutely. Making all these different dialogues and connections with history within ensembles in the city of Winnipeg and, as we've been saying, between cities in this Masters of the Early 17th Century program being presented by All the King's Men, taking place at 7 o'clock at the College Chapel of St. John the Evangelist at the University of Manitoba. It is a by-donation event, so a donation made to enter. Tickets can be reserved at winnipegbaroquefestival.com. They are going like hotcakes, I know, so I would hop on that train before it has left the station. Taking place, as again, 7 p.m. on Sunday, March the 30th. Charles Horton, thank you so much for joining us here in the Classic 107 studios and telling us more about this incredible program.